My mother sent a pizza photo while I was in the ICU. Not a call, not a voice message, not a simple shaking question that said, "Audrey, are you alive?" Just a picture in the family group chat. A cardboard pizza box open on my sister's new kitchen counter. My father's hand in the corner of the frame, reaching for a slice. My mother's caption under it said, "First dinner in Vanessa's new place." So blessed, so proud of our girl. Our girl. I was 33 years old, lying in a hospital bed with a clot in my lung and an oxygen tube in my nose, watching my own family celebrate 25 minutes away, while the doctors were still not ready to promise I would see the weekend. I had called them 13 times by then. 13. My mother let every call ring out. My father did too. My sister sent one heart emoji and told me to rest, like I had checked into a spa instead of intensive care. I run a company that takes care of people when they are weak. That is the cruel joke God wrote into my life. I built a home care agency from one client, one used minivan, and one borrowed laptop into a business with more than 40 caregivers. Every day, my staff and I make sure old people are not left alone, sick people are not left frightened, and families are not allowed to forget the person in the bed. But when I became the person in the bed, my own family forgot me before that IV was even taped to my arm. So I picked up the phone one more time. Not to my mother, not to my father, not to my sister, to my lawyer. And by the time they finally walked into my hospital room with flowers, excuses, and panic hidden under fake smiles, the cost of ignoring me had already been signed, witnessed, notarized, filed, and sealed. Welcome back to Revenge Stories, where the people who quietly hold everything together finally get heard. If you have ever been the strong one nobody checked on, the story is going to sit heavy in your chest. My name is Audrey Winslow. I was 33 when my family taught me the difference between being needed and being loved. Before that week, I thought those two things were almost the same. I thought if people depended on you, that meant they valued you. I thought if your name was on every bill, every emergency form, every bank transfer, every quiet solution, that meant you had a place in the center of the family. I was wrong. I owned Winslow Care Partners in a mid-sized town outside Columbus, Ohio. We provided home aides, medication reminders, overnight sitters, recovery support after surgery, and companion care for elderly people whose families were scared and tired. I knew the sound of panic in a daughter's voice when her father fell in the bathroom. I knew the shame in an old woman's eyes when she needed help bathing. I knew the way a son in another state would say, "Please, can someone just be there until I get a flight?" My whole business was built on one promise. Nobody should face their weakest hour alone. I believed that with my whole heart. Maybe because deep down I had spent my whole life afraid no one would be there for mine. In my family, I was the steady one. My mother, Margaret Winslow, gave me that name so early I cannot remember the first time I heard it. Audrey is fine. Audrey understands. Audrey can handle it. Audrey does not make things harder. Audrey is the strong one. My younger sister, Vanessa, was the delicate one. She was the pretty one, the emotional one, the one everyone had to protect from disappointment. If Vanessa cried, the whole house shifted around her tears. If Vanessa wanted something, people started rearranging their lives before she finished the sentence. If Vanessa failed, someone found a reason it was not her fault. My brother Logan was different. He was 5 years younger than me, quiet, practical, and kind, in a way that did not ask for applause. He taught shop class at a public high school, fixed his own truck, and showed up to family dinners with sleeves rolled up because he knew someone would ask him to carry something. Logan was never the favorite. I was never the favorite either, but he was not used like I was. He slipped through the cracks in a different way. And then there were my parents. My father, Franklin, was not a bad man in the loud way. He did not shout much. He did not scheme. He did not throw plates or call names. His weakness was softer and more dangerous. He let my mother decide what reality was, and then he lived inside it because fighting her took more courage than he had. My mother had all the courage in the house, but she used it mostly to defend herself. For years, I told myself this was just family. Every family has a rhythm. Every family has roles. Mine was simple. Vanessa received. Logan stayed out of trouble. Dad went along. Mom controlled the weather. I paid for the roof when the weather got bad. I paid for more than anyone knew. I paid the difference every month for my parents' senior living community, a clean, bright place called Briar Glen with wide hallways, a dining room with cloth napkins, and a courtyard my mother liked to call our little garden. She told her friends that she and Dad had planned well. She said it with pride. Sometimes while I was sitting right there, knowing I had quietly covered the gap for 3 years, I never corrected her. I paid off the last of my father's truck loan when his pension got delayed. He thanked me once quietly in the driveway, then never mentioned it again because my mother hated the feeling of owing me. I paid for Vanessa's boutique inventory when she decided she was finally ready to follow her dream. It was a small women's clothing shop with soft lighting, white shelves, and more ambition than cash flow. She named it the Blue Peony and told everyone she was self-made. I smiled at the grand opening with a cup of punch in my hand and said nothing. I had also agreed to help with her new house. Not just help. I had agreed to provide the down payment. Vanessa and her husband Preston had found a 4-bedroom house with a stone fireplace, a big kitchen, and a little sunroom she planned to turn into a content studio for her boutique. Their bank had stretched as far as it could stretch, and then the numbers stopped working. My mother called me 3 times in 1 week, not to ask exactly, but to place the problem in front of me until I picked it up. "You know Vanessa has always wanted stability," she said. I remember sitting at my office desk late that night, staring at payroll reports and feeling the old pull in my chest. The pull that said, if you can fix it, you should. If you do not fix it, you are the reason they suffer. So I agreed. I told myself Vanessa had children one day to think about, even though she did not have children yet. I told myself my parents would worry less. I told myself I could afford it, and because I could afford it, refusing would be cruel. That is how I made most of my worst choices. I confused ability with obligation. There were other documents too, private ones, the kind you only think about when life forces you to look at death. My parents were the primary beneficiaries on a large life insurance policy. My will gave them most of my personal estate, with a smaller share to Logan and some money to my employees. My mother was listed as one of my emergency contacts in my medical file, and my father was listed as backup. Vanessa had access to one old family account I had used years ago to send support payments faster. I had never changed it because I trusted family. That sentence looks foolish now. But before the hospital, I did trust them. Not perfectly, not blindly, but enough. I trusted that if the real emergency came, if the room got dark and machines started making sounds around me, they would come. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not gracefully, but they would come. That was the belief I did not know I had until it broke. For 3 weeks before everything happened, my body kept warning me. I got winded walking from the parking lot to my office. My left calf ached in a deep, strange way that did not feel like a pulled muscle. I had a cough that came and went. Sometimes, while talking to clients, I had to pause and breathe like I had climbed stairs. I went to my doctor because I am responsible about other people's health and only slightly reckless with my own. Dr. Grace Monroe was not the kind of physician who smiled away worry. She pressed 2 fingers into my calf, asked about recent travel, hormones, family history, and then looked at me with that calm seriousness doctors use when they do not want to scare you but also do not want you to ignore them. "I want imaging," she said. "Soon. Today, if they can fit you in. This could be a clot." I laughed a little because fear sometimes comes out of my mouth dressed as humor. "A clot? I'm 33. 33-year-olds get clots," she said. "You run a care agency. You know bodies do not always follow the polite schedule." I promised her I would go. I meant it when I said it. Then my phone rang before I even reached the parking lot. It was Vanessa. She was crying. Not soft crying. Vanessa never wasted soft crying when an audience was available. This was full, breathy, wounded crying because the movers had changed their arrival window, and Preston was being impossible, and the boutique needed new display racks picked up, and Mom was already stressed. And could I please just help coordinate one thing, because I was so much better at this stuff. I sat in my car with the imaging order on the passenger seat and listened to my sister cry about display racks while my calf throbbed. I told myself the scan could wait until tomorrow. That was event number 1 in the chain I wish I could break and rewrite, but life does not let you go back and save yourself from being trained too well. That evening, I called my mother and mentioned the possible clot. I did not make it dramatic. I almost apologized while saying it. Dr. Monroe wants me to get checked, I said. She said it could be serious if it is a clot. My mother made a soft, clicking sound with her tongue, the way she did when she wanted to seem sympathetic without changing her plans. Oh, Audrey, don't borrow trouble. You work too much. That is all. You are the strong one. You always scare yourself for no reason and then turn out fine. I did not point out that I almost never scared myself. I did not point out that I had spent the last month paying for her apartment, her medication copays, and Vanessa's house deposit while pretending not to be tired. I just said, maybe. Then she changed the subject. By the way, can you call the title company tomorrow? Vanessa is confused about the paperwork. She says they keep asking for proof of funds. Proof of funds. That was what mattered. Not the clot, not the scan. Proof of funds. I did call the title company. I did not get the scan that day. 2 days later, my office manager, Marla Quinn, found me standing in front of the scheduling board with one hand on the wall and the other pressed to my chest. Marla had been with me since the beginning. She had the kind of face that did not panic easily because she had already seen too much. She was 52, sharp-eyed, and could make a caregiver, a client's son, and an insurance coordinator all behave in one phone call. She had watched me carry too much for years, and unlike my family, she did not call it strength. She called it a problem. Boss, she said, using the nickname she only used when she was worried. Sit down. I'm fine, I said. That was the last stupid lie I told before the floor came up. It did not happen like fainting in a movie. There was no graceful hand to the forehead. The room tilted sideways. My chest locked. A bright, tearing pain shot through me, and suddenly air was not air anymore. It was something thick and useless that would not enter my lungs no matter how hard I tried. My coffee cup hit the floor and broke. Somewhere far away, someone shouted my name. Then I was on the ground, cheek against cold tile, hearing Marla tell 911 my age, my symptoms, and the words, possible clot. Even while I was gasping, part of me thought, she is good in a crisis. That is how broken the strong one can become. You can be half-conscious on the floor and still find time to evaluate someone else's performance. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens, oxygen, and a paramedic named Cole telling me to keep looking at him. He had kind eyes. I remember that because I kept thinking how strange it was that a stranger looked more frightened for me than my mother had sounded on the phone. At the hospital, everything moved too fast. The emergency room swallowed me. Nurses cut my blouse. Someone put stickers on my chest. Someone else started an IV. A doctor asked questions. A machine took pictures of my lungs. I heard the words oxygen saturation and pressure dropping and large embolus. I saw Marla standing outside a glass door with both hands pressed over her mouth. Then Dr. Grace Monroe walked into the room, not as my regular doctor now, but as the woman who had warned me and was trying not to look angry that I had waited. Audrey, she said, leaning close, you have a pulmonary embolism. A blood clot traveled to your lung. It is serious. I asked her if I was going to die. She did not lie. We are treating you. You are stable right now, but the next 24 to 48 hours matter. You need to let your family know where you are. Let your family know. Those words sound simple until you are the person in the bed, until you are looking at the ceiling of an ICU room while a monitor counts your heartbeat louder than your own thoughts, until you realize you are about to test the one belief you built your life around. I reached for my phone with a shaking hand. The first call went to my mother. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times, 4, then voicemail. My mother's cheerful recorded voice filled my ear. "Hi, you've reached Margaret. Leave a message and I'll get back to you when I can. When I can." I swallowed against the oxygen line and left a message. "Mom, it's me. I'm at St. Catherine's. ICU. They found a clot in my lung. It's serious. Please call me back, please." I waited 10 minutes. No call. I called my father. Voicemail. "Dad, I'm in the ICU. I need you to tell Mom. I need someone here. Please call me." Then Vanessa. No answer. Then my mother again. No answer. Then my father again. No answer. The first hour was fear. The second was confusion. By the third, something inside me started going still. I called 13 times in total. 6 to my mother, 4 to my father, 2 to Vanessa, 1 to Preston, because I thought maybe my brother-in-law would at least pick up if the caller ID said family. None of them answered. I left 5 messages before my voice became too thin to keep doing it. After that, I only let the phone ring and fall into the little grave of voicemail. A nurse named Diane Foster adjusted my oxygen and told me gently not to upset myself. I almost laughed. How do you not upset yourself when your body is trying to kill you and your mother is apparently too busy to notice? Then my phone buzzed, and for one bright, stupid second, hope lifted in me. It was the family group chat. My mother had posted a photo, not just any photo. A pizza box, grease shining on the cheese, paper plates on Vanessa's new kitchen island, my father in the background, red-faced and smiling, Preston holding a soda, Vanessa leaning against the counter with one hand on her hip like she was posing for a magazine. My mother's caption said, "First dinner in the new house. Moving day is hard, but worth it. So proud of our girl." Under it, Vanessa replied with blue hearts. Preston wrote, "Couldn't have done it without family." My father sent a thumbs-up emoji. "Couldn't have done it without family." I stared at those words with a plastic tube in my nose and a blood clot in my lung. They had their phones. That was the first truth. They were not unreachable. They were not trapped. They were not asleep. My mother had enough battery, enough time, and enough emotional energy to photograph pizza. She did not have enough of any of those things to call her oldest daughter back. Then another photo came in, my mother and Vanessa standing in front of the fireplace. Caption: "This house is the blessing she deserved. The blessing she deserved. The house my money was making possible." That was the moment I stopped wondering if they knew. They knew enough. They simply did not feel required to care yet. I opened my messages to Vanessa and saw that my earlier text had been read, the one I had sent after the 4th call because talking hurt too much. "ICU, blood clot in lung. Serious. Please tell Mom to call me. Read." 37 minutes later, Vanessa had posted a picture of pizza. A few minutes after that, she finally texted me privately. "OMG, Audrey. I just saw this, busy with the move and everything is crazy. Glad you're being taken care of. Rest up. Talk soon. I read it once, then twice, then a 3rd time because sometimes cruelty looks so casual your mind needs time to accept it. Glad you're being taken care of. By strangers? Yes, by nurses whose names my family did not know, by doctors who had other patients, by machines, by a woman named Diane who held a cup of water to my mouth with more tenderness than my own mother had shown in years." I did not answer Vanessa. Instead, I turned the phone face down on the blanket and stared at the ceiling until my eyes burned. There was one person I had not called. Logan. I did not call him first because old habits are deep. I thought he had students. I thought it would scare him. I thought he did not deserve to be pulled out of his day because I was in trouble. Even dying, I was still trying to be convenient. But I was tired. More than tired. I was done being noble in a room where nobody who benefited from my nobility had come. So I called. Logan picked up on the 2nd ring. "Hey, Aud." I tried to say his name, but my voice cracked. "Audrey?" His tone changed instantly. "What happened?" "I'm in the hospital." I whispered. ICU. Clot in my lung. He did not ask if I was sure. He did not ask whether it was serious. He did not tell me he was busy. He did not ask who else was there. He asked one question. Which hospital? St. Catherine's. I'm coming. Logan, you're at school. I'm coming, he said again, and the line went dead. 42 minutes later, he came through my door in work boots and a denim shirt with sawdust on one sleeve. His hair was messy from running his hand through it. His face had gone gray with fear. He crossed the room like the floor was on fire and took my hand in both of his. I'm here, he said. I've got you. I'm not leaving. That was when I cried. Not when Dr. Monroe told me I could die. Not when I saw the pizza photo. Not when my mother ignored the calls. I cried when someone finally came because until that moment, I had not understood how heavy it had been to spend my whole life arriving for people who never arrived for me. Logan stayed. He called the school and arranged a substitute. He texted his principal from the hallway. He came back with vending machine crackers he did not need, and a cup of coffee that went cold in his hand. He sat in the vinyl chair beside my bed and watched every nurse who entered like he was memorizing how to protect me. Diane came in at midnight to check my IV and found him awake. You can sleep, she told him. He shook his head. I can sleep when she's home. Diane looked at him for a second and then looked at me. Something passed over her face. Recognition, maybe. Nurses see families in their truest form. Waiting rooms remove masks. Hospital beds reveal the real order of love. You got a good one, she said quietly. I know, I whispered. The first night was long. My oxygen dipped twice. Alarms chirped. Dr. Monroe came in more than once, calm but focused. There was talk about whether they might need stronger intervention if the clot did not respond. Blood thinners, monitoring, risk. Words I understood from clients' charts but hated hearing about myself. At 3 a.m, when the hallway was blue and quiet, Logan leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. Did Mom call back? I turned my face away. No. Dad? No. Vanessa? She texted. He waited. I told him what she said. Glad you're being taken care of. For a moment, Logan did not speak. Then he stood, walked to the window, and pressed his fist lightly against the wall. Not hard. Logan was not dramatic. But I saw his shoulders rise and fall. They're at Vanessa's house, he said. I know. Mom posted pizza. I saw. He turned back, and there was something in his eyes I had rarely seen from him. Anger, not loud anger, clean anger. Audrey, he said, you have to stop paying for people who would eat pizza while you're in here. The sentence landed harder than it should have because it did not sound like advice. It sounded like someone finally speaking a truth that had been standing in the room for years. I did not answer, but I did not argue either. By morning, my oxygen numbers were steadier. The medication was working. Dr. Monroe said the danger was still real, but improving. She wanted another scan later. She wanted me watched closely. She wanted me calm. Calm was not hard anymore. Fear had burned through me and left something colder behind. I asked Logan to hand me my phone. He did. I opened my banking app first. I looked at the automatic monthly transfer to Briar Glen Senior Living, the payment that covered the difference between what my parents could afford and what my mother liked to pretend they had earned. It was scheduled for the following week. Then I opened my email and searched Vanessa down payment. There it was. The wire instructions, the scheduled release, the messages from the title company, the proof of funds letter, the promise I had made when I still believed my sister's happiness was partly my responsibility. Then I opened the folder with my estate documents. Life insurance, will, medical directive, company continuity plan. My mother's name was everywhere. My father's name, too. Vanessa appeared more than she should have. Logan appeared less than he deserved. That was when the ledger in my mind finally balanced. I had been treating love like an investment. I kept putting in money, labor, patience, forgiveness, and silence, waiting for the return that would prove I mattered. But love is not supposed to work like a bad business deal. You should not have to fund your own importance. I looked at Logan, asleep crookedly in the chair, one hand still near the bed rail as if he planned to catch me if the mattress disappeared. Then I called Nathaniel Price. Nathaniel had been my attorney for 8 years. He helped me form my company, reviewed contracts, handled 2 ugly employee disputes, and wrote my estate documents after one of my clients died without a will and left her children destroying each other over a dining room table. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Audrey?" "Nathaniel," I said. "I need you to come to St. Catherine's." His voice sharpened. "Are you all right?" "No," I said, "but I'm clear." That was the first new thing. I did not say I was fine. I told him where I was. I told him about the pulmonary embolism. I told him about the 13 calls, the pizza photo, Vanessa's text, Logan sleeping in the chair. Then I told him what I wanted. I wanted my parents removed as beneficiaries from my life insurance. I wanted my will rewritten. I wanted Logan named as my medical decision maker if I lost capacity. I wanted my company protected from any family interference if I died. I wanted the assisted living payments stopped. I wanted the down payment for Vanessa's house withdrawn before the wire cleared. I wanted Vanessa removed from every account, every authorization, every back door I had left open, because I thought blood was the same as trust. And I wanted it done in the hospital before my family remembered I existed. Nathaniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Audrey, I will do what you ask, but I have to ask the question because it is my job and because I care about you. Is this a decision or is it pain talking?" I respected him for that. It would have been easier for him to say yes and bill me. Nathaniel never took the easy road when the careful one was available. "It is pain," I said, "but it is also math." "Math?" I have spent my whole life giving them credit for love they never paid. These last 2 days showed me the actual balance. Another pause. Then Nathaniel said, "I'll be there within the hour. We do this cleanly or we do not do it. I want a doctor's capacity note. I want witnesses. I want no opening for them to claim you were confused." "I already thought of that," I said. "I know," he said gently. "That is why I believe you are clear." After we hung up, I asked Diane if Dr. Monroe could come in when she had a minute. Dr. Monroe arrived 15 minutes later with a tablet in one hand and the careful expression of a doctor who had seen enough family drama to know the air before a storm. I told her what I planned to do. I told her I needed my chart to reflect that I was alert, oriented, and capable of making legal and financial decisions. She asked me questions: my name, the date, where I was, why I was hospitalized, what medication I was receiving, what I understood about the documents. She did not rush. She did not treat me like a fragile thing. She treated me like an adult woman whose body was in crisis, but whose mind was intact. Then she nodded. "You are clear," she said. "I will document it." "Would you witness the signing?" She studied me. "Is your family going to challenge this?" "My mother challenges restaurant bills if she does not like the soup." For the first time since I had been admitted, Dr. Monroe almost smiled. "I will witness," she said, "and I will note exactly why." Diane agreed to be the second witness before I even finished asking. "Honey," she said, adjusting her glasses, "I have watched people who never visited fight over jewelry in this hospital. If you are choosing the person in that chair over the people eating pizza, I will gladly watch you sign." Nathaniel arrived with a leather briefcase, a mobile notary, and the face of a man ready to build a wall no one could knock down. He introduced himself to Logan, who looked half asleep and fully suspicious, until I nodded. "It's okay," I said. "Hi, he's mine." Mine, my lawyer, my brother, my doctor, my nurse, my room. For once, the people around me were there for me. The hospital tray table became a desk. Nathaniel laid the documents out in careful stacks. He explained each one slowly, though I already understood most of it. That was part of doing it right. There would be no claim later that I did not know what I signed. First, the life insurance beneficiary change. My parents' names came off. Logan became the primary beneficiary. A new second beneficiary was created, the Winslow Caregiver Relief Fund, a small emergency grant program I had talked about, starting for years but never funded properly. It would help my employees when their cars broke down, when their children got sick, when they needed a week of groceries between paychecks. The people who had spent their lives caring for others would have a safety net. Second, the will. Logan would inherit my personal estate if I died. A portion would go to the caregiver fund. My parents and Vanessa were removed, not reduced, removed. Third, the medical power of attorney. My mother's name disappeared. Logan's replaced it. Fourth, the company continuity plan. If I died or became unable to run Winslow Care Partners, Marla would serve as interim director with Nathaniel overseeing the transition. No family member could step in, sell assets, access accounts, or help manage things, because grief made them suddenly interested. Fifth, the assisted living payment cancellation. Not eviction, not cruelty, just the end of my private subsidy. Briar Glen would bill my parents directly for the amount I had been covering. They could choose a smaller unit, use savings, ask Vanessa, or make another plan. But the quiet monthly rescue was over. Sixth, the withdrawal of Vanessa's down payment. The funds had not yet cleared the title company. Nathaniel moved fast. My accountant confirmed by phone. The wire could still be recalled. I signed the authorization. Seventh, and this was Nathaniel's suggestion, a revocation of any informal account permissions Vanessa still had from old family arrangements. Every shared access point closed, every password reset, every just-in-case door locked. I read every page. My hand did not shake. Dr. Monroe watched. Diane watched. The notary checked my ID. Logan stood by the window with his arms folded, quiet and pale. When I signed the last page, the room felt different. Not louder, not dramatic. No music swelled, no lightning struck. It was only the scratch of a pen. But that sound changed my life more than any scream ever could have. Nathaniel gathered the originals. "It's done," he said. "Everything is valid. Everything is witnessed. Everything is defensible." I looked at Logan. His eyes were wet. "You don't have to do this because of me," he said. "I'm not," I told him. "I'm doing it because you came." He looked down, and for a second he looked like the little boy I used to pack lunches for when Mom forgot field trip days. "I should have come sooner in life, Emile," he said. "You came when it counted?" That was enough. For the next 24 hours, nobody in my family called. That silence was almost funny by then. I had changed the legal shape of my entire life, removed thousands of dollars in support, pulled back a house down payment, and redirected my death benefits. And the people affected still did not know because their concern had never been attached to me. It was attached to what I provided. Until the money moved, I was invisible. The next morning, my mother posted another photo in the group chat. Not pizza this time. Pancakes, Vanessa's new kitchen again, my mother at the stove in an apron. Caption: "First breakfast in the new house. Making memories." Making memories. I was making blood clots dissolve in my lung. I put the phone down. Marla came by that afternoon with a folder from the office and a face that said she had been crying in the parking lot and had decided to pretend she had not. "You scared the life out of us," she said. "Sorry." She gave me a look. "Do not apologize to me while you are wearing oxygen." That made Logan laugh for the first time. Marla sat in the chair on my other side and updated me on the company. She had moved schedules, reassigned 2 clients, calmed 3 families, and told everyone I was unavailable for medical reasons. Then she hesitated. "What?" I asked. "Your mother called the office yesterday." I went still. "She did?" Marla nodded. "She asked if you had left any signed checks there for Vanessa's house situation. She said you were hard to reach and that Vanessa needed something handled quickly." Logan's head snapped up. "She knew Audrey was in the hospital?" he asked. Marla looked at him, then back at me. I told her you were in the ICU and could not handle business calls. My mouth went dry. What did she say? Marla's face hardened. She said, "Oh, she's always dramatic when she's tired. Just have her call me when she wakes up." There are moments when new information does not hurt because it fits too perfectly into what you already know. It just slides into place with a sick little click. My mother had not merely missed the calls. She had been told by my office manager that I was in ICU, and she still posted pancakes. That became the first twist Nathaniel later called useful but ugly. Marla had documented the call in the office log because Marla documented everything: time, date, caller, message. She had even written, "Caller informed Audrey is in ICU. Caller requested financial paperwork." Nathaniel asked her to send him a copy. "You think we'll need that?" I asked. He looked at me over his glasses. "With your mother, I prefer having matches before someone claims there was no fire." By the third day, I moved from ICU to a regular room. The clot was stabilizing. My oxygen improved. Dr. Monroe told me I had been lucky. She said the word lucky carefully, like she knew it might not feel like the right word. "You will need months of blood thinners," she said. "Follow-ups. Rest. No hero behavior." Logan snorted. "She does not know how to do no hero behavior," he said. "I am learning," I said, and I meant it. The storm began at 4:17 that afternoon with a call from my accountant, Ruth Bennett. Ruth was calm in the way only accountants and funeral directors can be calm. "Audrey," she said, "the wire recall is complete. Funds are back under your control." "Good." "There has already been an inquiry from the title company. They expected the down payment to land this morning." I figured. "And one from Preston Blake." That was Vanessa's husband. Preston had the kind of confidence men get when they marry into other people's support systems and mistake them for their own talent. What did he say? He wanted to know if there was a delay. I told him I could not discuss your accounts. Good. He became unpleasant. "I'm sure." Ruth paused. "Audrey, are you sure you are all right?" There it was again. A person paid to care about numbers asking about me before the people sharing my blood had managed it. "I'm getting there," I said. 20 minutes later, Logan's phone rang. He looked at the screen. "Preston." I nodded. He answered on speaker. Preston did not say hello. "Do you know what's going on with Audrey?" Logan's jaw tightened. "She's in the hospital." "I know that," Preston snapped, annoyed by the medical emergency like it was bad weather. "I mean, with the money. The title company says the wire was recalled." "Recalled, Logan. Who recalls a down payment the week of closing?" "The person whose money it is," Logan said. There was silence. Then Preston said, "Come on. Audrey promised. Vanessa is losing her mind. We already moved half our stuff in. Your parents spent the whole weekend helping. This is going to make us look ridiculous." I stared at the ceiling and almost smiled. There it was. Not, "How is Audrey breathing?" Not, "Is the clot better?" Not, "Can we come?" Just, "We will look ridiculous." Logan said, "Maybe you should call Audrey and ask her." "She's not answering." "She called all of you 13 times from ICU. Nobody answered." Another silence. Smaller this time. Preston lowered his voice. "Look, I don't know what family drama is happening, but we need that money." Logan looked at me and I nodded once. He said, "No, Preston, you wanted that money. There's a difference." Preston hung up. Vanessa called me 6 minutes later. The phone lit up with her name, and I felt my body react before my mind did. My chest tightened. Not from the clot this time. From 33 years of training, Logan saw it. "You don't have to answer." "I know." That was another new thing, knowing I had a choice. I answered. Vanessa did not ask how I was. She did not mention ICU. She did not say she was sorry. Her voice was high and shaking, but not with fear for me. "Audrey, what is going on with the down payment?" I closed my eyes. Hello to you too. Don't do that. Please don't do that. The bank says the money got pulled back. Preston is freaking out. The sellers could walk. Mom says there has to be a mistake. There is no mistake. A sharp inhale. What do you mean? I withdrew the funds. You what? I withdrew my money. Her voice became very small and very dangerous. Audrey, you promised me. I also called you from the ICU. What does that have to do with my house? My house? Not the house. My house. I looked at Logan. He had gone completely still. It has everything to do with your house, I said. Because it was never your house if my money was the thing holding it up. That's cruel. No, I said. Cruel is reading a message that says your sister has a clot in her lung and replying with a heart emoji while you eat pizza in the kitchen. Her money helped you enter. She gasped as if I had slapped her. We were moving. It was chaos. Mom said you were being monitored and there was nothing we could do. That sentence mattered, Mom said. My mother had decided my emergency was handled, and everyone else had accepted it because accepting my mother's version of reality was the family sport. I asked you to come, I said. No, you asked Mom to call. I said I see you, serious. Please tell Mom. You always handle things, Audrey. There it was. The old family prayer. I said quietly, not anymore. She started crying then, not for me, for the house, for the embarrassment, for the boxes already moved, for the Instagram post she had drafted about new beginnings. She cried because the world had committed the sin of asking Vanessa to stand without me under her feet. I let her cry. Then I said, if you want to talk, you can come to the hospital. You know where I am. You have known for 3 days. She hung up without saying goodbye. My mother started calling within the hour. Once, twice, 3 times, then 5, then 7. The same phone that had stayed silent while my oxygen dipped now flashed with her name like an alarm. I did not answer. This was not revenge. Not really. I did not ignore her because she had ignored me. I ignored her because I knew my mother's voice was a room with no witnesses. On the phone, she could bend time. She could make me doubt what I had seen with my own eyes. She could cry, accuse, sigh, soften, and sharpen all in one breath. By the end, I would somehow be apologizing for making my pulmonary embolism inconvenient. So I let every call ring out, just like she had. But unlike her, I was not eating pizza while I did it. That evening, my father called. His name on the screen felt different, heavy, but not sharp. I answered. For a few seconds, there was only breathing. Audrey, he said finally. Dad. His voice sounded old, older than it had on voicemail 2 days before. Vanessa told us about the money. Of course she had. And the hospital? I asked. Another pause. She told us you were upset. Upset? I almost laughed. Dad, I had a clot in my lung. I know, he whispered. Did you know that first day? He did not answer quickly enough. That was answer enough. I had my phone, he said. I felt it buzzing. Your mother said not to answer while we were carrying the couch. She said, you probably needed something for work, and that we would call later. My throat tightened. You got my voicemail. Later, he said. I listened later. When? Another pause. After the pizza. The pizza. That stupid pizza would become the line between my old life and my new one. I heard your message, he said, voice breaking. You sounded so scared. I should have come. I should have made her come. Yes, I said. It was the first time in my life I did not rescue him from guilt. He began to cry quietly. My father, who had spent a lifetime disappearing behind my mother's certainty, cried like a man who had finally seen the shape of his own cowardice. I was carrying a couch, he said. My daughter might have been dying, and I was carrying a couch. I looked at the machines beside me. My heartbeat was steady now. You need to come tomorrow, I said. All of you. If Mom wants answers, she can get them here, in my room, in front of witnesses. I'll come, he said, even if she won't. She will, I said. How do you know? Because the money stopped. I spent that night preparing, not emotionally. I had done enough emotion. I prepared like I prepared for a difficult client meeting. Facts, documents, boundaries, witnesses, no loose edges. Nathaniel came by the next morning with copies of everything. He stood beside the window while I sat up in bed, hair unwashed, hospital gown loose at the shoulder, bruises blooming around my IV site, and he said the sentence that became my anchor. Do not argue with them. I nodded. I mean it, he said. Your mother will try to move the conversation from facts to feelings, then from feelings to loyalty, then from loyalty to guilt. Do not follow her. Tell the truth once. Let the documents do the rest. Don't argue, I repeated. Let the paper speak. Diane came in while he was saying it and pointed one finger at me. That man is right. Dr. Monroe checked on me an hour later. You are expecting family? That obvious? You have the face. What face? The face patients get before the relatives arrive and make the illness about themselves. I laughed, and it hurt my chest. She looked at Nathaniel's folder. Do you need me nearby? If you can be, I said. I'll be on the floor. That was the strange grace of that week. The people who owed me nothing kept showing up. My family arrived at 10:34 in the morning. My mother entered first, because of course she did. Margaret Winslow did not enter rooms. She claimed them. She wore cream slacks, pearl earrings, and a soft blue sweater, as if this were a brunch where she might be photographed. In her hands was a bouquet from the hospital gift shop, yellow flowers wrapped in plastic. Behind her came my father, pale and bent in a way I had not seen before. Vanessa came next, eyes red, hair perfect, carrying a designer purse I had helped pay for by funding her boutique inventory. Preston followed, jaw tight. Logan stood at the foot of my bed and did not move. My mother swept toward me with a smile so bright it had no warmth in it. Oh, sweetheart, she said, placing the flowers on my tray table. Look at you. You gave us such a scare. I looked at her. She leaned down and kissed my forehead before I could stop her. Her perfume filled my nose, floral and expensive, the scent of every family dinner where she had smiled while asking me for money in soft language. But you're the strong one, she said. I knew you would pull through. The old sentence landed in the room like a key in a lock. I saw Logan's hand curl into a fist. I saw my father flinch. I saw Vanessa look away. My mother sat in the chair beside my bed as if she had earned it. Now, she said, folding her hands. Vanessa tells me there is some confusion with the house money. I am sure this is all because you were sick and things got mixed up. So let's fix it before it gets worse. She had been in my hospital room for less than 1 minute. She had mentioned my survival only as a bridge to the bank. I looked at the flowers on my tray table. Then I gently moved them aside. Nathaniel stepped forward and placed the documents where the bouquet had been. My mother's eyes flicked to him. And why is he here? My lawyer, I said. Her smile tightened. Audrey, this is a family conversation. No, I said. It is a legal and financial conversation about things you thought were family, because I was the one paying. The room went silent. Vanessa whispered, Audrey? I did not look at her yet. I looked at my mother. I called you 13 times from the ICU, I said. I left messages. Marla told you I was here. Vanessa read my text. Dad heard the phone. You posted pizza, then pancakes. My mother's face changed, but only slightly. A ripple under glass. We were moving your sister, she said. It was chaotic. You know how moving days are. I know how pulmonary embolisms are now, too. Her lips pressed together. There is no need to be dramatic. Diane, standing near the door with my medication scanner, made a small sound in her throat. I remembered Nathaniel's advice. Do not argue, so I did not. On my second day here, I said, when Logan was the only one who came, I changed my documents. You and Dad are no longer beneficiaries on my life insurance. You are no longer in my will. You are no longer my medical decision makers. The assisted living payments have been stopped. Vanessa's down payment was withdrawn before the wire cleared. Her access to my accounts has been revoked. My company is protected. Logan is now the person named where family actually matters. Vanessa made a small, broken sound. Preston said, "You can't just do that." Nathaniel looked at him calmly. "She can. She did." My mother stood. The chair legs scraped against the floor. "You did this from a hospital bed?" she said. Her voice was not sad. It was offended. "Yes." What kind of daughter lies here plotting against her family? There it was, the twist she wanted. Not what kind of mother ignores 13 calls, not what kind of sister eats pizza after reading ICU, not what kind of family comes only when the down payment disappears, what kind of daughter signs papers. I looked at her and said the line I had not planned until that second, the line the whole week had written for me. "You sent a pizza photo while I was in the ICU. You just never saw the papers I had already signed." Her face went white. Vanessa started crying harder. "You're taking my house." "I am not taking your house," I said. "I am refusing to buy it." "That's the same thing." "No," I said. "It only feels the same because you had already counted my money as yours." Preston stepped forward. "We moved in based on your promise." Nathaniel opened a folder. There was no executed gift agreement, no transfer completed, no legal obligation remains. Preston glared at him. "This is family." Nathaniel said, "Then perhaps you should have visited her before calling the title company." My father sat down heavily in the corner chair and covered his face. My mother pointed at the papers. Her hand shook, but from rage, not sorrow. "She was drugged," she said. "She was scared. This is not valid. I know my daughter. She would never do this unless someone influenced her." Logan finally spoke. "You don't know her," he said. My mother turned on him. "Stay out of this." "No," Logan said. "That's done too." For a second, I saw surprise cross my mother's face. Logan had never spoken to her like that. None of us had, not without folding afterward. Nathaniel slid one document forward. Dr. Monroe documented Audrey's capacity before signing. Nurse Foster witnessed. The documents were notarized. There is also a chart note, an office call log showing Mrs. Winslow was informed Audrey was in ICU, and time-stamped call records. If anyone attempts to challenge these changes by claiming Audrey lacked capacity, we are prepared. My mother looked toward Diane. Diane lifted her chin. She knew exactly what she was signing. Then Dr. Monroe appeared at the door, as if the hospital itself had decided to testify. "I can confirm that," she said. "Audrey was alert, oriented, and medically capable of making her own decisions." My mother stared at all of them. The doctor, the nurse, the lawyer, my brother, the papers. For the first time in my life, Margaret Winslow had entered a room and found no soft place to place her version of reality. So she did what she always did when truth trapped her. She attacked. "You ungrateful girl," she said, "after everything we did for you." I almost smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was so old. The line had been waiting behind her teeth my whole life. "What did you do for me?" I asked softly. She blinked. I had never asked that before. "What? What did you do for me, Mom? Not what did you do for Vanessa? Not what did Dad quietly do while you took credit? Not what did I owe you for being born? What did you do for me when I called from this bed?" Her mouth opened. "Closed," I continued, still calm. "You called me strong, so you never had to show up. I believed you for 33 years. I was strong enough to pay, strong enough to fix, strong enough to forgive, strong enough to be alone, but I am also strong enough to stop." Nobody spoke. The monitor beside me beeped steadily. It sounded like punctuation. Vanessa wiped her face with both hands. "I didn't know it was that bad." "You read the word ICU. Mom said—" "I know what Mom said." That stopped her, because there it was. The other family disease. We had all let my mother tell us what other people's pain meant. Vanessa had heard I was in ICU and waited for Mom to decide whether it mattered. Dad had felt the phone buzzing and waited for Mom to decide whether to answer. I had spent years feeling lonely and waited for Mom to decide whether I was allowed to need anything. That was over. Vanessa looked smaller suddenly. Not innocent, just smaller. Like a person who had reached for a railing and discovered it had been my arm all along. "I can't afford that house without the money," she whispered. "I know." "We already told everyone." "I know." "The boutique is slow. Preston put money into the move. If this falls apart, we could lose the deposit." "I know." Her eyes filled again, but this time there was anger under the tears. "You want to ruin me." "No," I said. "I wanted you to love me before the bank called." That sentence broke something open in the room. My father began crying again, quietly. Vanessa looked away. My mother crossed her arms. "This is emotional blackmail." Nathaniel's eyebrows lifted slightly, but he said nothing. I laughed once. It hurt. "Mom, emotional blackmail is asking your daughter to fund everyone's life and then calling her cruel when she notices nobody came to see if she was alive." "You should have made it clearer," she snapped. That was the sentence that almost got me. For 1 second, heat rose in my chest, not the clot. Rage, pure and bright. I wanted to shout. I wanted to list the 13 calls, the voicemails, the texts, the office log, the ICU, the oxygen, the doctor, the pizza, the pancakes, the heart emoji, the couch. But I saw Nathaniel shift slightly by the window. Do not argue, let the papers speak. So I reached into the folder and pulled out a printed call log. Nathaniel had made it because he knew my mother. I placed it on the tray. 13 outgoing calls, times, durations, voicemails, texts, then Marla's office note. Caller Margaret Winslow informed Audrey Winslow is in ICU. Caller requested financial paperwork for Vanessa Blake closing. My mother stared at the paper. Her face did something I had waited my whole life to see. It did not soften, it did not break, but it stopped performing, only for a second. Then she whispered, "Marla had no right to write that down. Not, I should have come. Not, I am sorry. Marla had no right to record the truth." That was when my father lifted his head. "Margaret," he said. My mother turned, surprised by his tone. He stood slowly. "We did this." The room changed again. My mother said, "Franklin, don't start." "No," he said. His voice shook, but he kept going. "We did. She called. I felt the phone. You said, 'Finish the couch.' We listened to her message after pizza, and you said the hospital would call if it was really bad." Vanessa looked at my mother. "You listened after pizza?" My mother's eyes flashed. Everyone calmed down. But Dad was not done. "And yesterday," he said, looking at me now, shame all over him, "when Briar Glenn called about the payment change, your mother said maybe now Audrey would stop being dramatic and answer." Vanessa sucked in a breath. That was another twist, and it landed hard. My parents already knew the senior living support had changed before they came. That meant my mother had not come because she found out I was sick. She came because Briar Glenn called. I looked at her. She looked back. And because she could not deny it, she chose pride. "We are your parents," she said. "You do not get to throw us away because of one bad weekend." "One bad weekend?" Logan repeated. His voice was low. "She almost died." "But she didn't," my mother snapped. The room went dead quiet. Even Preston looked at the floor. There it was, naked at last. The belief underneath every unanswered call. I had survived, so her absence did not count? I stared at my mother for a long moment, and something inside me settled for good. "You are right," I said. "I didn't die. That is why I got to sign the papers myself." My mother flinched. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because the truth should touch the person who created it. The meeting did not end with hugs. Stories like this rarely do, unless someone is lying. My mother did not suddenly become tender. Vanessa did not suddenly understand 33 years of imbalance. Preston did not apologize. My father did not become brave enough to fix a lifetime in one morning, but the old structure cracked, and through the crack air came in. Before they left, I told them my terms. I am not restoring the insurance. I am not changing the will. I am not giving the house money back. Those decisions are done. Vanessa began to cry again, but I kept speaking. I will consider limited help with Briar Glen for 3 months, only so Dad is not thrown into chaos while he figures out a new budget. After that, you make a plan you can afford, a smaller unit, a different community, family contributions from everyone, not just me. Vanessa can help. Preston can help. You can sell the second car. I do not care. But I am done being the invisible bank. My mother's mouth tightened. So now you want to humiliate us? No, I want the bills to have the right names on them. Nathaniel placed another page on the tray table. A temporary support agreement. He had drafted it that morning because he thinks 3 steps ahead. It stated clearly that any temporary assistance was voluntary, limited, and not an admission of obligation. It also required a written acknowledgement. My mother saw the heading and laughed bitterly. You want your own parents to sign a confession? I want my parents to tell the truth. Dad walked over first. He did not read long. He signed with a shaking hand. Then he looked at me. I left my daughter alone when she might have died, he said. His voice broke on daughter. I am sorry, Audrey. It was not enough. Of course it was not enough. But it was real. And real had been rare in my family. I nodded. Vanessa would not sign at first because the agreement did not give her anything. That told me enough. But then Preston muttered something about needing to leave before the title company called again, and she grabbed the pen like signing would somehow make the room stop looking at her. She wrote her name under the acknowledgement that she had read my ICU message and failed to visit. She did not say sorry. That came later. My mother took the longest. She stood by the window with her arms folded, looking out at the hospital parking lot, as if the answer might be written on someone else's windshield. For 10 minutes, she said nothing. Nobody pushed her. That was important. For once, Margaret Winslow had to move without being carried by someone else's apology. Finally, she turned. Her face was stiff. Her voice was flat. I should have come, she said. 3 words. Not warm, not complete, not the mother I wanted. But true. Then she signed. After they left, the room felt huge. Logan sat down beside me, leaned forward, and put his face in his hands. I touched his shoulder. You okay? He laughed without humor. You're asking me that? I'm practicing bad habits in smaller doses. He looked up, eyes wet. I'm proud of you. That nearly undid me. Not, I'm relieved you paid. Not, thank you for fixing it. Not, please do one more thing. I'm proud of you. I turned my face toward the window and let myself cry quietly. The days after that were less dramatic, but they mattered more. Vanessa lost the house. The sellers did not wait. They kept part of the deposit and moved to another buyer. For 2 weeks, Vanessa acted like I had personally dragged her furniture into the street. She posted vague quotes online about betrayal and family showing true colors. My mother liked every post until Dad apparently told her to stop. But here's the twist Vanessa did not expect. Losing the house did not destroy her. It embarrassed her. There is a difference. She and Preston rented a smaller townhouse near her boutique. It did not have a sunroom. It did not have a stone fireplace. It did have a payment they could make without me. At first, Vanessa hated it. Then, one afternoon, months later, she called me from that smaller kitchen and said, very quietly, I didn't realize how much of my life I had built on assuming you would catch me. I said nothing because I had learned silence could make room for truth. She continued, I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. I think I was awful to you. It was the first real apology she had ever given me. I did not forgive her on the spot. People love stories where one apology washes the whole floor clean. Real life is not that efficient. I told her I heard her. I told her we could start with one honest lunch and see. My parents moved from their large Briar Glen apartment to a smaller one-bedroom in the same community. My mother called it a temporary adjustment for 6 months, before finally admitting it was permanent. She stopped bragging to her bridge group for a while. Then she started telling people they were simplifying. I let her have that little dignity because truth does not require public stripping to be real. Dad changed the most. Not all at once, not perfectly, but noticeably. He came to the hospital every day after the confrontation. He sat in the ugly chair, sometimes with Logan, sometimes alone. He brought me soup in a thermos and oversalted it because he had never been the cooking parent. He learned the names of my medications. He drove me to 2 follow-up appointments after I was discharged because Logan had school and I was not allowed to drive yet. The first time he helped me into my house, he stood in my kitchen and cried again. "I don't know how I let it get this bad," he said. I was tired. So tired. Recovery was not pretty. My body felt older than 33. My breath came shorter than I wanted. My leg ached. My bruises turned green and yellow. I had pill bottles lined up on the counter and a calendar full of medical appointments. But I looked at my father and gave him the truth. "You chose comfort over me for a long time." He nodded. I did. That was new too. No defense. No, but your mother. No, I didn't know. Just, I did. Healing did not feel like a movie. It felt like that. 2 words in a kitchen. My mother was harder. For weeks, she treated me carefully, which is not the same as kindly. She called every few days and asked about my oxygen, my blood thinners, my appointments. But her voice had the tight politeness of someone reading instructions in a language she did not respect. She did not know how to care without controlling the story. She did not know how to ask a question without hiding an accusation under it. One day, about 6 weeks after the hospital, she said, "I suppose you think I'm a monster." Old Audrey would have rushed in. "No, Mom, of course not. I know you were stressed. I know you did your best. Please do not feel bad." New Audrey sat on her couch, breathing carefully because recovery still made stairs feel personal, and said, "I think you failed me." Silence. Then, very softly, she said, "I don't like hearing that." I didn't like living it. She hung up soon after, but 2 days later, she called again. That was her version of trying. The Caregiver Relief Fund became real in the fall. Nathaniel helped structure it properly. Ruth handled the account. Marla cried when I told the staff. We named it the Chair Fund because every person who has ever cared for someone knows the chair. The hospital chair, the nursing home chair, the chair beside the bed, at 3 a.m, where love proves itself by staying awake. The first grant went to Diane Foster. Not directly because she had witnessed for me. That would have been strange and probably not allowed. But months later, I learned through Dr. Monroe that Diane's daughter had car trouble, and Diane was picking up extra shifts. I could not give to Diane through the hospital, but I could donate to a nurse's hardship program in her honor. So I did. I sent her a card with one line. "Thank you for being in the room." She sent one back. "Thank you for choosing yourself before it was too late." I kept that card in my desk. The strangest part of changing your life is how quiet it becomes afterward. People expect revenge to feel loud. They expect slam doors, screaming matches, dramatic collapse. Mine felt like automatic payments stopping, passwords changing, a beneficiary form filed in a drawer, a smaller apartment, a brother with a key to my house, a father learning how to sit with discomfort, a mother trying badly to ask how I am without making herself the center. It also felt like grief. I need to say that because nobody warns the strong ones. Even when you do the right thing, even when the papers are clean, even when the people who hurt you finally face consequences, you still grieve. You grieve the fantasy family. You grieve the mother who would have thrown the pizza in the trash and run red lights to reach you. You grieve the sister who would have climbed into the hospital bed beside you and cried into your shoulder. You grieve the father who would have answered the first call instead of the 14th apology. You grieve what should have been. But grief is not proof. You made the wrong choice. Sometimes grief is just the sound your heart makes when it stops lying. 3 months after the hospital, I returned to work part-time. Marla had kept the company standing. Logan had built a small ramp by my back door, even though I told him I did not need one. He said it was not for need, it was for ease. I had never known what to do with ease. The first day back, I sat in my office and looked at the scheduling board where I had collapsed. Someone had replaced the old coffee mug I broke with a new one. Plain white. On it, in black letters, Marla had printed, "No hero behavior." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. Then I cried a little, then I got back to work. Differently. I stopped answering family calls during payroll. I stopped paying bills that arrived wrapped in guilt. I stopped saying yes before asking myself whether yes would cost me peace. I hired a deputy director instead of pretending I could do 3 jobs forever. I took lunch breaks, real ones, with food, sitting down. The world did not end. That was maybe the biggest twist of all. For years, I believed if I stopped holding everything, everything would collapse and the collapse would be my fault. But when I stopped, some things did fall. Vanessa's house, my mother's pride, my father's excuses, my old role, and under the wreckage, other things stood. Logan and I became close in a way that felt both new and ancient, like we had been siblings all along, but had only just found the right room to meet in. Every Sunday, he came over with groceries or some tool he claimed I needed. We talked about Dad, about work, about his students, about the strange loneliness of being the kids who were not Vanessa. Sometimes we did not talk at all. He fixed a cabinet hinge while I read on the couch, and the silence felt safe. One Sunday, he brought a pizza. He froze in the doorway when he realized. "Oh," he said. I didn't think. I looked at the box. For half a second, the hospital room flashed in my mind. The group chat. The caption. So blessed. Then I looked at Logan's worried face and took the box from his hands. "This one is different," I said. We ate it at my kitchen table. No photos, no captions, just food and someone who came. The final confrontation with my mother happened almost a year later, though it was quieter than the first. It was spring. I was stronger by then. Still careful, still on follow-ups, but alive in a way that felt earned. Briar Glen held a family lunch in their courtyard, and Dad asked me to come. I almost said no. Then I decided I could leave whenever I wanted, and that made going possible. My mother was sitting under a white umbrella wearing sunglasses and pretending not to watch for me. When she saw me, she stood too quickly, then tried to make it look natural. Dad hugged me first, a real hug. Vanessa came with a container of cupcakes from a bakery near her smaller townhouse. She looked nervous. Mom said, "You look well." "I am. I'm glad." I believed her halfway. Halfway was more than before. After lunch, while Dad and Logan argued about whether charcoal grills were better than gas, my mother walked with me along the courtyard path. For a while, she talked about the flowers. Then she stopped beside a bench. "I found the voicemail," she said. I knew which one. The first one you left. From the ICU. My body went still. "I had deleted it," she continued, "but your father had saved his. He played it for me last week." I looked at her face. She was not performing now. She looked older, smaller. "You sounded like a little girl," she said. I did not know what to say. She swallowed. "I told myself you were strong because it made my life easier. I see that now." That was the closest she had ever come to naming the whole crime. My eyes burned, but I did not cry. She looked down at her hands. "I don't know how to be the mother you wanted." "I know." That hurt her. I saw it. "But," I said, "you can stop being the mother who uses me." She nodded slowly. "I'm trying." "I know." And that was where we left it. Not fixed, not finished, but no longer false. Vanessa and I are not best friends now. I will not pretend we are. We meet for lunch once a month. Sometimes she pays. The first time she grabbed the check, she looked so proud of herself I almost laughed. But I did not. I let her have the small dignity of learning. Her boutique survived after she cut expenses and stopped pretending online success paid real rent. Preston hated the smaller life for a while. Then he either adjusted or got tired of hearing Vanessa say, "My sister is not our bank." I do not ask too many questions about their marriage. That is her ledger to read. My father calls every Tuesday and Thursday, not because he needs something, because he made a schedule for loving me, and in his old man way, that is how he keeps himself accountable. Sometimes the calls are awkward. Sometimes we talk about the weather for 10 minutes. Sometimes he says, "Just checking on my girl." And I have to close my eyes. My mother calls on Sundays. Sometimes I answer. Sometimes I call back later. She is learning that access to me is not automatic. I am learning that boundaries are not cruelty. They are doors with handles on both sides. And Logan is still my emergency contact. He says he does not like the title because it sounds like he is waiting for bad news. I told him emergency contact is not about expecting disaster. It is about naming the person who comes when disaster does not ask permission. The life insurance is still his. The will is still changed. The caregiver fund is still growing. The papers I signed in that hospital bed stayed signed. People sometimes ask if I regret it. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret believing my worth had to be proven through usefulness. I regret every check I wrote because I was afraid refusal would make me unlovable. I regret ignoring my own body because my sister cried louder than my calf ached. I regret waiting for a mother who was waiting for my money to stop before she came. But I do not regret the papers. Those papers did not destroy my family. They revealed it. They showed who ran toward the bed and who ran toward the bank. They showed who loved me, who used me, who followed, who hid, who could change, and who only hated losing control. My mother sent a pizza photo while I was in the ICU. For a long time, I thought that picture was the worst thing I had ever seen. Now I think it was a gift, ugly as it was, because it gave me proof, not for court, not for Nathaniel, not for any legal challenge, for myself. Whenever the old guilt rises, whenever my mother sighs in that careful way, whenever Vanessa's voice gets soft around a problem she wants me to solve, I remember the pizza box on the kitchen island. I remember the caption. So blessed. I remember my oxygen line, Logan's hand, Diane's witness signature, Dr. Monroe's note, Nathaniel's briefcase on the end of my bed. I remember that I called 13 times. I remember that they came when the money stopped. And I remember that by then the papers were already signed. Family is not the people who say you are strong while leaving you alone to prove it. Family is not the people who clap when you carry the beam but never ask if your back hurts. Family is not the people who call you dramatic when your body is begging for help and then call you cruel when your wallet closes. Family is the person who picks up on the second ring. Family is the nurse who says you were clear as a bell. Family is the doctor who writes the truth where nobody can erase it. Family is the brother asleep in the vinyl chair, one hand near the bed rail, ready to catch you even in his dreams. And sometimes, family is the woman in the hospital bed, finally choosing herself with a pen in her hand. If you have always been the strong one, hear this. You do not have to keep breaking yourself to be seen. Do not bleed quietly just to seem easy to love. Do not wait for a hospital bed to rewrite your life. Notice who stays when nothing is offered. Write their names carefully, then sign accordingly. The end.